E.J. Ashbourne. I'm the Executive Director of the Partnership for Quality Medical Donations, otherwise known as PQMD. And today we are doing an interview that is part of a program we're calling People of PQMD. That is an opportunity to get to know the representatives and the people involved with the organizations who are members of PQMD. And we're really excited today that Julie Jenson is with us from Pfizer. She's the Director of International Product Access. And thank you for being with us today.
Hi, EJ. Thank you so much for having me and inviting me to be part of this series. I'm excited. I think this is a cool idea.
Well, thanks, Julie. So if you could just start by describing your role at Pfizer and your experience with PQMD, or how you came to be part of PQMD.
Of product access at Pfizer. I sit within our global health and patient access team. My role is to lead our international product donation programs, which include our responses to humanitarian and disaster relief. I've been with PQMD since 2011. I've been the representative since the meeting in Paris. And on PQMD, I've had a number of positions on the executive board, and most recently, I'm the vice chair of the board and taking over as chair in 2021.
I have a chance to look at your CV and notice that you are from Michigan, and also that you have lived all over the world on your way to New York City. Mm-hmm. So how did you actually get to where you are today working in global donations?
Yeah, so I started in Michigan. I graduated from Michigan State in supply chain management, and I started working at our manufacturing facility in Michigan, in Kalamazoo. And it was while I was working there that Pfizer bought Pharmacia, and that's how I got to New York City for the first time. I worked in New York for a few years, and then I had the opportunity to be a Pfizer Global Health Fellow. It was actually an emergency health fellowship where we went to Indonesia after the Southeast Asian tsunami in 2004. And a colleague and I worked closely with WHO and UNICEF to help organize a lot of the product donations that were pouring into the country, as a result of the disaster. So after spending a few weeks in Indonesia, essentially cataloging, making medicines available, properly destroying the ones that were not appropriate, I really realized that global health was an area that I was interested in. Up until that point in time, I had only worked on the commercial side of the Pfizer business, but leaving that experience in Indonesia, I knew that one day I wanted to come back to a role that could work in that space within Pfizer. So fast forward, several years, instead of getting my MBA, I decided to get my master's in public health. I had the opportunity also to live in a few countries with Pfizer. I spent 2 years in Singapore and kind of use all of those experiences and my MPH to segue into the role that I'm in now, which has been almost 10 years managing our product donation programs and a lot of our global health work.
You've done a lot of really exciting things at Pfizer, and I've had the opportunity to know you for at least 5 years, and I think even a little before then. And so you have done so many things with your current position and sort of around the area of product donations. So what is the project that you're most proud of?
Gosh, you're right. I've been really fortunate. I've been in this role for 10 years now, almost, 2001. And so I've gotten to work on a lot of great projects, from supporting the International Trachoma Initiative for this entire time, and the great success that we've had eliminating blinding trachoma in many countries around the world. Also a lot of great projects I've had the chance to work on here in the US, including our naloxone donation for opioid overdoses, where we're almost reaching a million doses donated in the last 3 years. Both of those are donation projects that I'm extremely proud of. I think what's been one of the coolest projects I've had the chance to lead is our partnership with Zipline. Zipline is the drone delivery company who led the efforts with the Ghana government to distribute essential medicines to the entire country via drone. So Pfizer was one of the philanthropic investors in that project. It launched last year, and it's been really exciting to see how, not only are essential medicines being delivered, but the infrastructure has adapted to respond to the COVID epidemic. And now PPE and testing kits and other medicines are being delivered through this network, which honestly is probably more advanced than any other country, in the world, including our own. So, I think that's probably been the most innovative and interesting project I've worked on lately.
That's really exciting innovation. And actually it leads really well into my other question, although it's a little bit about your work, but also about your life. Since you live in New York City, which, as everyone knows, was majorly affected by the COVID outbreak, and now thankfully has has returned to some level of normal life. But how have things really changed for you, not only in your work, but just in your personal life with COVID?
Wow. I think if you had asked me that question over the, every few weeks, my answer would have been different. Of course, it was intense personally and professionally, absolutely, for the first month. I'd say middle of March to middle of April, when New York was really in the center of the pandemic. And also Pfizer, we had such a big response philanthropically to the pandemic. It was kind of like living it in real life right outside my window. And then also being on calls for 12 hours a day, trying to figure out how we were going to respond to different aspects, whether it was PPE or cash or product donations. So honestly, it's kind of a blur to me to look back on the really peak of the pandemic in New York. It was also a great time to be in New York, though. I think I wouldn't have wanted to be in any other city, even though it was so intense. I think the New Yorkers, we just have a sense of pulling together, and the camaraderie, even between neighbors and within neighborhoods, for the healthcare workers, everything. I think there was a real sense of community, and I never doubted that we would come out of the pandemic, the way we did. And I'm just holding my breath that everyone continues to be good neighbors and good citizens, and keep us in the state that we're in now. I think now it's just transitioning to looking at what's happening everywhere else, and figuring out what lessons have we learned, how can we help support the rest of the country, and also the rest of the countries that are kind of seemed like a lull for a while and are now really hitting a peak.
I agree that even here in Annapolis, where PQMD is headquartered and where I live, there has been an extraordinary change in the way the community behaves with each other, and the way that people behave towards each other, and the kind of grace that really has become part of regular communication. And there are very few silver linings, but I would say that is certainly one of them. So just to also sort of keep going on the theme of your life in New York, so tell me a little bit about what your typical morning looks like, and maybe even your favorite part of the day, just given that we're all spending so much more time at home. So yeah. What does your day look like?
It's funny because I love to sleep, so I wouldn't think that the morning would be my favorite part of the day, but I think waking up and having that first half-hour walk with my dog is absolutely the best part of my day. I think living in a neighborhood where I have so many different coffee shops, and during the pandemic, I wasn't able to go to them. So actually, when they started to open again a few months ago, it was the best day. But anyway, so I walk my dog every morning. We go to a different coffee shop. She gets her own walk. She gets to sniff new things. I get to, have a different cup of coffee every morning. I love it. I don't listen to music. I don't, do any work. I don't take conference calls. I just walk and, look at the trees and the flowers in my neighborhood. And it really is so relaxing. So that's how I start my day. And I would have to say probably it's my favorite part.
Sounds beautiful. So what do you like to do for fun?
So I like to read. I love to read nonfiction books. I try to read about one a week. I love to read about psychology. I love to read about history if there are different themes woven into history. Um, I like to, yeah, I would say any kind of informative nonfiction, especially, yeah, I'll listen to my podcasts and I'll pick up books that they recommend. I think that's relaxing. I'd like to get into fiction someday, but I think for now, I feel like it's kind of killing two birds with one stone, relaxing and learning at the same time.
Yeah, some people would say that this is the time for fiction because real life and nonfiction is so serious.
Hmm.
But that's terrific. Uh, and I guess I have one last question,
Hmm.
and it's sort of a return to work. Given that you
Hmm.
are the rising chair for PQMD, and we're
Yeah.
really excited about that taking over in January, what are you excited about in PQMD?
I am really excited about the way we're starting to leverage technology. I was excited about this community of practice and what we've been doing and investing in before, but I think that during this COVID time when we're virtual, I think it is really a time for us to almost get even savvier and reach a bigger audience and have a bigger voice within the global health community. And so I think it's going to be an interesting time when we're all getting on board with these platforms. And hopefully a year from now, we're able to combine what PQMD has always done well, which is, engage our network in our real life meetings. I think that the community of practice will help us to communicate in between those meetings more real time, just build our connections. So that's what I'm most excited about. I think there's a lot of conversations that will be important that we should be having, continuously.
Well, we're really excited that you will be coming on, and especially given all of your background and experience and the variety of your experience, which I think is really going to add value to leading the direction of 2021 and sort of coming out of COVID and moving into the future, which will be really exciting. So thank you very, very much for talking with us today. And I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate everything that Pfizer does for not only the network of PQMD, but for global health at large. And thanks so much.
Thank you so much, EJ. It's been a pleasure.